Chapter 31, A Super Genius with 8 Supreme Spiritual Roots. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Last night, when Li Congxin and Li Tianba had a long talk, his father told him that more than 10 years ago, his mother prepared 3 gifts for him when she left. He asked Li Tianba what they were. Li Tianba didn't know either, and said that they would appear naturally when the time came. Unexpectedly, he accidentally encountered one of them first. As soon as he was born, his mother found that he was a waste. If there was no external help in this life, he would definitely be a waste for the rest of his life, so she began to prepare for a rainy day. In order to lay a foundation for Li Congxin's future, 3 gifts were prepared for him, and this top-grade thunder spirit root that had long been integrated into his blood was one of them. There were originally 12 holy places in Tianqin continent, 8 of which had been destroyed by Taiqian Holy Land. One of them, the Thunder Sea Holy Land, had the strongest foundation, which was this top-grade thunder spirit root. When the Holy Land was destroyed, they hid the thunder spirit root at the bottom of the Thunder Sea, the most secret place in the Holy Land, and sealed it with a hiding formation. Li Tianba didn't notice it at the time, but it was still easily discovered by Li Congxin's mother, so she went to the bottom of the Thunder Sea, broke the seal, and then forcibly injected a strand of Li Congxin's blood into the spiritual root, allowing it to grow with the spiritual root. In this way, after more than 10 years, the spiritual root must and can only belong to Li Congxin, but during this period, in order to prevent the spiritual root from being discovered by other people, she moved the entire thunder pool of the Thunder Sea Holy Land to the deep sea secret realm isolated from the outside world. She had calculated the time, and when the deep sea secret realm was opened, it was almost when Li Congxin was 18 years old. At that time, the spiritual root and Li Congxin's blood had completely merged. With the opening of the secret realm, the top-grade thunder spiritual root officially came into the world, and the thunder spirit would naturally smell Li Congxin's breath and go to find him. Spiritual roots are a kind of talent and root bone, which can bring various extraordinary assistance to the cultivator, such as increasing attack and defense, reducing defense and slowing down, blood-sucking poisoning, reducing attack and weakening, restoring and healing, etc. Therefore, for people with the same cultivation, those with spiritual roots can easily crush those without spiritual roots. The stronger the level of the spiritual root, the stronger the combat power, and the thunder spiritual root is a variant spiritual root based on the 5-element spiritual root. It is the most violent of the 8 spiritual roots and has the ability to greatly increase the attack power. Li Congxin couldn't help but show interest. Just imagine, if his 3 burning sword intentions were released with the power of thunder, how destructive would it be? Or, he covered the thunder power on the indestructible divine body of the thunder sound vitriol. Even if he stood still and let people chop him, it is estimated that the person who chopped him would be blown up by the thunder and lightning, right? Invincible, this is definitely going to be invincible, but he was too lazy to test it. Invincible is invincible, what's there to be proud of? It seems like he has never seen the world. But anyway, he was very touched by the love from his mother. My mother is really thoughtful. Li Congxin's face showed a warm and happy color. The nursery rhyme is true, there is only mother in the world. Thinking of his mother's powerful means, he sighed in his heart. I thought my father was invincible, but I didn't expect that my mother is even more awesome. Ding! The system is upgrading. The upgrade failed, the upgrade failed. The 183rd system upgrade, the upgrade is successful. Li Congxin narrowed his eyes. The system is strong and unyielding all its life. My mother loves it so much, it must have touched its reverse scale again. Sure enough, here it comes, again. Reminder, you get the all-system top-grade spiritual root gift pack. Ding! Does the host want to open the gift pack? Since the host may ignore it, the system has automatically opened it for the host. Congratulations, you have obtained the 5-element spirit root, the top-grade gold spirit root. Congratulations, you have obtained the 5-element spiritual roots, the best wood spiritual roots. Congratulations, you have obtained the 5-element spiritual roots, the best water spiritual roots. Congratulations, you have obtained the 5-element spiritual roots, the best fire spiritual roots. Congratulations, you have obtained the 5-element spiritual roots, the best earth spiritual roots. Congratulations, you have obtained the 5 elements mutated spiritual roots, the best wind spiritual roots. Congratulations, you have obtained the 5 elements mutated spiritual roots, the best ice spiritual roots. Li Congxin was completely speechless. Are you a lifelong strong-willed person who never admits defeat, or are you deliberately going against me, or are you simply trying to prove that there are more people in the world than just mothers? But this is a bit too much. What you did made me feel that my mother's love is not so heavy. As various spiritual roots grew in his body, Li Congxin, who was lying on the bamboo chair, could only feel and gently closed his eyes, a person with 8 kinds of spiritual roots, all of which are top-grade spiritual roots. I'm afraid this kind of monster has never existed in ancient and modern times. Plop, that when the system was successfully upgraded, a small splash of water appeared in the pond in front of the pavilion, and a fish fell into the pond again. Confused, swaying its tail, it swam in the water in a panic. At this moment, Li Congxin's body underwent earth-shaking changes. 8 different spiritual roots emerged from the Dantian Qi Sea, turning into 8 different colored qi lines, like vines, entwined around his spine, twisted into a rope, and continued to spread upward along the spine, reaching the brain. The power was released from the Dantian Qi Sea, and with the power of the spiritual roots, it could be transformed into a more powerful spiritual power. After a while, Li Congxin opened his eyes and said to Chu Fij beside him, "You step back, I want to try my spiritual power." How magical is spiritual power? He was just curious because he had never had it before. Hearing this, Chu Fij was surprised. Li Congxin was going to practice. After 3 days, she finally saw Li Congxin practicing. How did the mysterious Taiqian master practice? She was always very curious. Okay, master. For a moment, she was so excited that she stepped back a few steps. Li Congxin said, "Step back a little bit." Chu Fij felt an inexplicable tremor in her heart and quickly left the pavilion. It must be the deterrent power released by the master during his practice that would affect her. Step back a little bit. For some reason, Chu Fij suddenly felt horrified and turned pale. Without thinking, she quickly flew back and flew to a small hill in the distance. Then, she looked at Li Congxin in the pavilion with a nervous look. Li Congxin lay lazily on the bamboo chair, with no intention of moving at all, and even yawned. At this moment, swish. He released a powerful thunder spirit power, and he, lying on the bamboo chair, was like an octopus with all its tentacles spread out in an instant, with a lot of thunder exploding from his body. Under the impact of those thunders, the pavilion where he was located collapsed instantly, like a blooming stone flower of destruction, and turned into flying rubble in the explosion. The pavilion was blown to pieces on the spot, as if it had been struck by a bolt from the blue. Such a powerful thunder spirit power, Chu Fij exclaimed. No wonder Li Congxin asked him to step back. It turns out that the young master is also a rare thunder spirit root carrier. But the next scene directly shocked her to the point of being stunned on the spot, and the look in her eyes when she looked at Li Congxin was as if she was looking at the supreme god. Wow! At the moment when the pavilion collapsed, a powerful golden light burst out from Li Congxin's body again. The golden light was cold and sharp, like thousands of swords rushing out. Under the impact of the golden light, the rubble in the sky instantly turned into powder and ash. Hurry up. Immediately, a gust of wind swept out of Li Congxin's body. Under the wind, the ash in the sky turned into a gray dragon, which kept whistling in the air, baring its teeth and claws, and crossed its legs to spin and dance above him. Sizzle. He released a strong chill again. The gray dragon flying in the sky gradually solidified in the air, and turned into a dragon-shaped ice sculpture at a speed visible to the naked eye. Boom. The raging flames on Li Congxin's body were as hot as the sun and as hot as volcanic magma, melting the ice sculpture in the air instantly. Shashasha. It turned into countless ashes again, falling to the ground in a grand manner. At this time, Li Congxin had released a soft water-based spiritual power and a solid earth-colored spiritual power. With the combination of the two spiritual powers, the ashes in the air were like a reappearance after destruction, and gradually turned into a pavilion. Buzz. Finally, it landed steadily in its original position. Li Congxin yawned again and turned over. Lying on the bamboo chair in the pavilion, he was calm and relaxed, as if nothing had happened. The scene was the same as before. Everything was the same as before. But Chu Fij, who was far away, had a huge wave in his heart at this time, and it could not be calmed for a long time. Chapter 32 Second Uncle Travels Through Time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What did she just see? I saw Li Congxin releasing 7 powerful spiritual powers in a short period of time: thunder spiritual power, golden spiritual power, wind spiritual power, ice spiritual power, fire spiritual power, water spiritual power, and earth spiritual power. Could it be that the young master possesses 8 spiritual roots at the same time? And they all have very high-level spiritual roots. That I couldn't help but feel extremely shocked. In this world, there is only one person with a single spiritual root. There is not one person with 2 spiritual roots in a million. Those with 3 spiritual roots are the monsters in the world. It is difficult to find one in the world who possesses the spiritual roots of the 5 elements at the same time. Spiritual power, that is, the potential of heaven and earth, governs the evolution of yin and yang, and encompasses the creation of heaven and earth. If you carry 8 powerful spiritual roots at the same time, you will have the ability of the Creator if you have grown to a certain level. One thought of flowers blooming, one thought of all things being silent. Can compete with heaven for position, or simply create a world of your own. Such existences, even in the entire universe, are hard to find in one era. Chu Fij looked at Li Congxin in horror, his eyes filled with awe. What kind of little devil was he? He was even more perverted than him. No, it's the big devil. Suddenly, she felt a slight wave of emotion in her heart. No, the young master didn't show the wood spiritual power just now. He should have 7 spiritual roots. After all, he is still not perverted to the extreme. Call. He breathed out lightly. If he really had 8 spiritual roots at the same time, it would be really scary, but inside, I couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. It's just a wood element, and that's it. What a pity. But he immediately smiled again. What have you lost here? Isn't this like a person who earns 300 spiritual stones a month and is heartbroken that his idol has a monthly income of 900 million and failed to break through the 1 billion mark? Isn't this sad and ridiculous? More and more, I discovered that she, the daughter of destiny and destiny, was really nothing compared to Li Congxin. From now on, don't think too much about anything, just follow the young master with peace of mind, take advantage of the young master's blessings, and serve the young master well. After calming down, he flew back to the pavilion lightly. Young master, I will continue to rub your shoulders. Seeing that Li Congxin was still lying down, she sensibly walked behind the bamboo chair and served him as usual. At this time, a voice came from the distance. Young master, try the snow fungus soup I stewed for you. Ren Huchong walked over quickly with a tray in his hands and a cheerful face. The uncle who just came out of the kitchen had no idea what happened here. A strong fragrance wafted in, which made Li Congxin feel energetic. He even sat upright. He looked at the tray in his hand and asked, "Isn't it soup? Why did you put a flower on the tray?" "Ahem, it's purely for the sake of appearance." Ren Huchong said with a smile, "Young master is an elegant person. It is pleasing to the eye, and it is also good for appetizing. Flowers are alive too, so why break them for no reason?" Li Congxin picked up the flower and smelled it, then threw it into the grass outside the pavilion. Phew! The flower glowed faintly in the air, and rhizomes and roots grew out of the broken part at a speed visible to the naked eye. When it fell to the ground, it seemed as if it had grown there and was no longer a broken branch at all, delicate, fresh and full of vitality. "Young master, what you said makes sense." Ren Huchong grinned and said with surprise, "I didn't expect that the young master is actually a wood spiritual power cultivator." Chu Fij on the side was completely stunned on the spot. "When I was drunk, I lit up the lamp and looked at the sword, and I dreamed about the trumpet company. 800 miles away, the soldiers under my command are being burned, the sound of 50 strings tumbling beyond the Great Wall, and the troops on the battlefield are in autumn. The horse moves so fast, the bow moves like a thunderbolt. Finish the affairs of the king and the world, and win the reputation before and after death. Pity, it happened in vain." Li Congxin was enjoying the delicious hot soup in the pavilion. At this time, a bold chanting voice came from the mountainside, and someone was coming towards him. Upon hearing this, Li Congxin almost choked. "Young master, are you choking?" Chu Fij, who was rubbing his shoulders, asked, and quickly changed his shoulder gently. If people in the Congxin world saw that their daughter of destiny and destiny was here to take care of people, and she was so gentle, delicate and considerate, hundreds of billions of people would probably collapse. But Chu Fij also felt sweaty in his heart. Although his strength is unfathomable, he still chokes himself when drinking soup. Who is he? It seems that her young master has returned from strength to strength, but she was born into a super wealthy family and was pampered. It is true that she was pampered. Li Congxin was secretly shocked at this moment. You heard me right, what I just heard was the song Broken Array. How could anyone in this world recite Xin Chiji's poems? The first thought that came to his mind was, time traveler. Boy, you're fine. As soon as the voice sounded, a tall, square-looking middle-aged man had already climbed onto Iran Peak. This man was armed with a battle helmet and armor, and he also held a sharp holy spear in his hand. He is a majestic military commander. Seeing the man holding a weapon in an aggressive manner, Chu Fij instinctively wanted to draw his sword. However, when the general came outside the pavilion, he released a huge pressure that immediately forced Chu Fij and Ren Huchong to stand still. If you can't keep your feet steady, you can only keep kicking and kicking back. When he walked into the pavilion, the two of them had been forced out of the pavilion by his pressure. This was not something he did intentionally, it was simply a kind of general power in him. Upon seeing this person, Ren Huchong quickly bowed and saluted outside the pavilion. I have met Senior Li. You don't need to be polite at home. The general waved his hand, but he didn't know that this was Li Congxin's uncle. He thought he was just an ordinary cook. He thrust his head directly in front of Li Congxin and looked at Li Congxin, who was lying on the bamboo chair with a curious look on his face. Seeing that Li Congxin was calm under his general's authority, he was surprised and said, I heard that boy Li Yi say that you have been pretending to be weak and miserable all these years. In fact, you are not a waste at all. You have already cultivated a powerful body. And he has great attainments in swordsmanship. At first, I still didn't believe it, but it seems that it is really the case. He laughed and looked very happy. TSK, TSK, TSK. He looked at Chu Fij and praised him, quote, I have a fiancé who is one of the most beautiful in the world, and my childhood sweetheart cousin is always by my side. When did we have such an incomparably elegant woman next to us? He blinked at Li Congxin, as if to say, boy, you are so beautiful. Senior, that's a big reward. Chu Fij brushed himself outside the pavilion. At the same time, he breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this person was not the young master's enemy. My heart felt dark again. At this moment, she understood one thing. If she met a truly powerful enemy, even if she wanted to stand in front of Li Congxin and become cannon fodder, she would not be able to do it. Jun's face showed determination. I swore in my heart, I must practice hard, otherwise, I won't even be qualified to serve as a shield for the young master. Second uncle, you, the greatest god of war in the world, didn't go to the outer lands with Dad to open up new territories this time. This is like losing a right-hand man. Li Congxin also smiled and said without showing any emotion, in his absolute domain, no matter how powerful the existence is, it cannot pose a threat to him. In this world, the number of people who possess holy weapons can be counted on one hand. This person is none other than his second uncle, Li Qingfeng. Li Qingfeng, like his master Wu Kaishan, was at the pinnacle of quasi-emperor level, and his strength was second only to Li Tianba at the great emperor level. Li Qingfeng, unlike other masters of the Taiqian Holy Land, lived in seclusion in the Holy Land all year round and did not interfere in human affairs. He often traveled around the outside world and was also a general of the Shifeng dynasty. Li Tianba is the #1 overlord in the world, and Li Qingfeng is known by the world as the #1 god of war in Tianqin continent. His second uncle actually has another identity, a time traveler. Li Qingfeng said, brother left in a hurry this time. I was outside helping your eldest sister to calm down the chaos. I just came back today. This time, I brought you some weird stuff. Maybe you will find it interesting and can study it carefully. After saying that, he pulled out a bunch of things and shook them in his hand. Look, what is this? It was placed on the table next to Li Congxin with a thud. Because Li Qingfeng had no children, he loved Li Congxin very much and always regarded Li Congxin as his own son. He was wandering around outside, and no matter what delicious, fun or fresh things he encountered, he would bring them back to Li Congxin. This. Looking at the pile of treasures Li Qingfeng threw on the table, to be precise, a pile of junk. Although Li Congxin looked calm on the surface, he was shocked in his heart. The things on the table are like the internal parts of a computer host, including hard drives, electrical columns, integrated boards, and a large string of wires. What does his second uncle mean by this? Are you testing yourself? Chapter 33. Second uncle tore a time traveler apart and brought back his system. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What is this? Never seen it at all. In order to show that he was not the same kind, Li Congxin showed a confused expression. He turned to Chu Fij and Ren Hu Chong and said, "Have you two seen this thing before?" "Young master, I have never seen him before." The two answered. Outside the booth, Li Congxin asked, "Second uncle, where did you get this thing?" "It was dug out of a young man's body." Li Qingfeng was also very strange, said, "It's very common for monsters to have demon cores in their bodies, and it's normal for cultivators to have inner elixirs in their bodies. However, if there is such a large series of scrap iron threads connecting the meridians and blood vessels in the human body, even if I am well informed, it is indeed unheard of. I've tested it, and these things don't have any spiritual power. However, I always feel that this pile of scrap metal contains some unknown mystery, which may be of benefit to you, so I brought it back to you to see." "It was ripped out of the human body," Li Congxin said in shock. "Right. Teared out raw." Li Qingfeng's expression was grim and determined. "If you are so ruthless, what grudge does that person have against you?" Li Cong was sweating in his heart. As expected of a family that dominates the world, all the elders in his family are ruthless characters. Li Qingfeng calmed down. "Hey, do you want to hear my second uncle tell you a story?" There was a rather nostalgic look on his face. When Li Congxin was young, every time he came back from a trip, a kid in crotchless pants would wrap around him, put his hands around his neck, rub his forehead against the stubble under his chin, and ask him to tell stories from outside. Every time, he would laugh, put down the spear with blood stains that had not yet dried up, and hold Li Congxin in his arms. The two of them would sit under the stars like an ordinary father and son, telling Li Congxin about the strange and exciting experiences in the outside world. But the brat was too young at the time, but he only liked to hear childish things about sheep, bears, and starfish. Thinking about it, Li Congxin hasn't pestered him to tell stories for several years. Nostalgic. This matter is a long story. He calmly sat down next to Li Congxin and said the opening words that he must use every time he started a lecture, pretending to have a long conversation with him. Li Congxin said, "Then you should keep your story short." Li Qingfeng. Ahem. Clearing his throat, he was still very interested. "You also know that the Tianqin continent was originally filled with thousands of nations. After your father and I swept through the nations, your eldest sister established the Shifang dynasty to rule and govern the entire world. Although the overall situation has been decided, there are always some fleas and bugs that still want to jump around. Over the years, there are often some remnants of the destroyed country who want to resurrect and take the opportunity to cause trouble. Therefore, the dynasty army formed by your eldest sister will go to suppress it. Second uncle, thank you for your hard work." Li Congxin smiled and said, "You are obviously a strong man from the Taiqian Holy Land, but you also hold the position of the general of the Shifang dynasty, and you are traveling outside all the year round. It's all for the sake of our own family business, so there's no need to work hard." Li Qingfeng waved his hand, still saying in his heart, "This huge family property will be yours in the future. Before you take over, of course, my second uncle must protect it for you." He continued, "This time I went to a rebel place to suppress the rebel army. I met a young man about your age in the army. Thumbs up, this young man is truly amazingly talented." Chu Fij outside the pavilion pouted slightly. "Is it amazing to be stunning in front of Li Congxin?" Is there a more amazing young man in this world than your nephew? I don't believe it anyway, Li Qingfeng said. That boy not only has the cultivation of a great master at a young age, but also has great talents. The poem I just went up the mountain to recite, I was drunk and read the sword with the light on, and dreamed back to the trumpet company. He was in the army. Made. After saying that, he sighed, it's a pity that kid is arrogant and too crazy. What kind of crazy method? Li Congxin listened and found it interesting. Li Qingfeng said angrily, I saw that young man's talent was extraordinary, and I wanted to take him back to Taiqian Holy Land to train him as a core disciple. Unexpectedly, that young man was so proud of his talent that he spoke rudely. He also uttered arrogant words in front of me, saying that I have a narrow vision and how big all the heavens and worlds are. The Holy Land of Taiqian is just a drop in the ocean. He didn't take it seriously at all. And he also arrogantly said in front of me that in this life, he will be a proud dragon that reaches the 9 heavens. One day, he will fight 3,000 emperors with one hand and push thousands of continents across the country with his 2 palms. Li Congxin, hey, good guy, Li Qingfeng, I thought to myself, you have such an arrogant tone. You want to come to my Taiqian Holy Land, seize the grand foundation of my Li family, and crush my eldest brother Li Tianba's skull with one kick. Li Congxin took a leisurely sip of the snow fungus soup, just because he is too crazy, so, second uncle, you killed him. Now, he was sure that Li Qingfeng was not a time traveler. Your second uncle, I have a great reputation and am admired by everyone in the world. How can I be a narrow-minded and weak-minded person? Li Qingfeng patted his chest and snorted coldly, but what he said later really made me want to kill him. After that boy drank a few bowls of yellow urine, he went so far as to talk nonsense in the army, saying that his first great goal to dominate the world was to capture the queen first, and that this was the path the protagonist should take. In front of many soldiers, I made obscene remarks and made all kinds of obscene remarks, which were unacceptable to my ears. Li Congxin's eyes flashed with chills. His elder sister, Li Tianxin, is a queen of unparalleled beauty. How sacred and noble, how can anyone arbitrarily desecrate her? Damn it! You have pride, I can smooth it out for you. You have rebelliousness, I can help you straighten it out. But if you dare to insult my niece, I, Li Qingfeng, can only be good to you from the bottom of my heart. Li Qingfeng said loudly, with a kind of unparalleled domineering aura of a war god, and a proud aura that crisscrosses this world. Boom, suddenly released. Chu Fij and Ren Huchong, who were already standing outside the pavilion, retreated again under the terrible might. He wants to die, so no one can blame him. Li Congxin smiled faintly. He took a look at the rags on the table. He was indeed very good to others. These things were the heart and lungs of a young man. Now, he has completely understood. The young man Li Qingfeng was talking about was a traverser, and he was a traverser with a system, and the pile of rags on the table was his system. His second uncle was really cruel. He tore a time traveler apart with his bare hands and brought back the other person's system as a toy for himself. He shook his head and smiled faintly. This system should not be too strong, but it found a stupid host who thought he was invincible with the system. He didn't know how to be low-key. Then, he was unlucky enough to meet the first war god of Tianqin continent. Then, he was torn apart as expected, and even the system was pulled out of his body. Li Qingfeng's eyes were also on the pile of torn systems, but that boy is indeed extraordinary. He is obviously only at the grandmaster level, but he can knock me back half a step with one punch. Of course, when I was not paying attention. But to be honest, if he is allowed to grow for another 100 years, maybe he can really fulfill his grand ambition. Grandmaster level, knocking back the peak quasi-emperor half a step with one punch. Li Congxin showed a hint of interest on his face. He stretched out a hand, picked up the string of scrap iron and rotten wire, and asked in his heart, "System, can you check what this is?" "Yes. Of course. No problem at all. It's just a trivial matter, not worth mentioning." This was the first time that Li Congxin took the initiative to ask for help, and the system was obviously very excited. Ding. Testing. Chapter 34, 100,000 times critical hit, every punch blasts the sky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The test has been completed. This is a system that has been completely destroyed. It is a low-level system. This system is called 10,000 times critical hit system. Special tip: critical hit is an attack that is several times higher than the upper limit of ordinary damage. Therefore, a 10,000 times critical hit is not a 10,000 times attack, but an attack damage that is more powerful than a 10,000 times attack. So that's it. Li Congxin suddenly understood. He laughed. No wonder the young man was so crazy. A 10,000 times critical hit, let alone a grandmaster, even a martial king, the damage caused by a punch is quite terrifying. Mountains collapsed and the sea exploded. He was a grandmaster, and with a 10,000 times critical hit, he could suppress a martial emperor or even a martial saint. Therefore, except for the few quasi-emperor level strongmen in a few holy places, he was indeed invincible in the outside world. As I said, it was just his bad luck that he met Li Qingfeng when he was pretending. Ding. The system is upgrading. The upgrade failed. The upgrade failed. The system is upgrading for the 120th time, and the upgrade is successful. The system started rolling again. Li Congxin was not surprised at all. Reminder: you have officially opened the 100,000 times critical damage function. From now on, when the host fights with others, he can release 100,000 times the critical damage at any time to give the opponent a fatal blow. When he heard about this newly opened function, Li Congxin felt a little ridiculous. The second uncle gave him a pile of scrap metal, all broken and worthless, and you didn't accept it. But since he came here, he could only accept it calmly and let it go. He smiled in his heart. 100,000 times critical hit, wouldn't it be a blast? Now, with his 17 years of skills, I don't know if the quasi-emperor level strongman can withstand it. However, what Li Congxin was more concerned about was, system, your Lord God is not also a pile of broken copper and waste wire, right? That he didn't want to be ripped off by someone one day. Humph. Who are you looking down on? How can the host compare this system with that low-end third-rate system? This system is invisible and has no illusions. No one can capture it. It is the highest level of existence. Also, you can always believe in the ability and strength of this system. That's good. Li Congxin felt much more relieved. He looked at the various abnormal functions he now has: lying down to grow, unlimited lottery, system step counting, full level of skills, free rebates, endless sea of chi, kitchen god, power training, absolute domain, 100,000 times critical damage, innate root bone constitution godhood, son of destiny, son of luck, pupil of truth, whole body supreme bone, great thunder sound vajra indestructible body, 8 kinds of top-grade spiritual roots, skills, god. And demon muscles, 3 burning sword intentions. According to the personality of this unyielding system, there will undoubtedly be more and more in the future. He couldn't help but chuckle. If this continues, it will be even more perverted than a pervert. Invincible, really invincible. After taking a sip of snow fungus soup, he lay on the bamboo chair with a comfortable and leisurely look on his face. Someone's words actually make sense. You can be bad, but you can't be really bad. Indeed, you have to be capable enough to be unscrupulous and have the right to not work hard. My nephew, don't lie down all the time. Aren't you afraid that your butt will be rotten from sleeping? It will grow maggots. Get up, get up. Li Qingfeng grabbed Li Congxin's hand and pulled him up. Second uncle, forget it. Li Congxin smiled bitterly, with a look of rejection and reluctance. According to the previous lifestyle, every time Li Qingfeng told him a story, he would teach him to practice martial arts. Li Qingfeng's painstaking efforts were just to make him stronger and more powerful, but unfortunately, Li Congxin was a super waste before, and it was useless to teach him. This time, Li Qingfeng was particularly excited, because he already knew that Li Congxin was not a waste. I heard from that kid Li Yi that you have extraordinary attainments in swordsmanship. That kid rarely convinces people. Patted Li Congxin on the shoulder. In the future, you will be the holy master of Taiqian Holy Land and the master of Shifang dynasty. You must take care of both the Holy Land and the world. Knights practice swords, generals practice spears, swords and spears are combined, and they travel the rivers and lakes and battlefields. Excellent. Come on, my second uncle will pass on his mantle to you today, and I will definitely train you to be a versatile person who can dominate the cultivation world and overwhelm the court. No, no, no. Li Congxin shook his hand when he heard it. My father is in the Holy Land of Taiqian, and he has been the ruler for eternity. My elder sister is in the Shifang dynasty, and she will rule for generations. I just want to enjoy the good life. He was not interested in inheriting such a huge family business. Wonderful, wonderful. Li Qingfeng didn't listen at all. He raised the holy weapon heaven-shaking spear in his hand. This spear has the power to shake the sky. My second uncle once killed millions of soldiers with this spear, so he was famous all over the world and was called the first god of war. Take it. He threw the heaven-shaking spear in his hand to Li Congxin. This gun will be yours from now on. A long spear with a murderous aura flew over, and Li Congxin could only reach out to catch it. If he didn't catch it, it would hit him, just when he took the heaven-shaking spear, ding. The host is automatically drawing an infinite lottery. Congratulations, you won the gold-based holy weapon, Luyun Puguang spear. Congratulations, you won the wood-based holy weapon, Tianyin Qingmu spear. Congratulations, you won the water-based holy weapon, Shuahai Dailang spear. Congratulations, you won the fire-based holy weapon, Fenshin Hongyun spear. Congratulations, you won the earth-based holy weapon, Hutu Pundi spear. Congratulations, you won the ice-based holy weapon, Xianbing Feng Tian spear. Congratulations, you won the wind-based holy weapon, Dafeng Kixi spear. Congratulations, you won the thunder-based holy weapon, Jingalawenchen spear. Li Congxin held the heaven-shaking spear and looked at the 8 murderous spears of different shapes in the system warehouse, feeling a little amused. What his second uncle threw was not a gun at all, but a challenge to the system. How could the system admit defeat? So, 8 were given to him immediately. Because he just had 8 kinds of top-grade spiritual roots, the system was very considerate and gave him a holy spear of each spiritual system. Are you angry? Li Congxin shouted in his heart, I only know swordsmanship, what do I need so many spears for? I don't know spearmanship. Ding! Infinite draws continue. Congratulations, you won 721,721 pieces of earth-level spearmanship in the draw. Congratulations, you won 17,216 pieces of heaven-level spearmanship in the draw. Congratulations, you won 1,731 pieces of holy-level spearmanship in the draw. Congratulations, you won 1 piece of god-level spearmanship in the draw. Reminder, the automatic full-level function is turned on. The host is comprehending various spearmanships, low-level, heaven-level, holy-level, ding. The full level has been reached. Reminder, the host is comprehending the god-level spearmanship 9 heaven spear art. 9 styles of Jiuxiao, suppress mountains and rivers, break the sky, soar into the sky, create infinity, break yin and yang, shatter stars, swallow the sun and moon, turn the world, and be silent in reincarnation. It has been cultivated to the maximum level. Chapter 35 The ancestor of the spear path must kneel when he sees me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. System, are you serious? Okay, you are ruthless, I think you are awesome. Li Congxin was powerless to complain, so he chose to be passive. At this moment, he only needed to move his brain slightly, and a large number of spear techniques immediately emerged in his mind, all kinds of moves, all kinds of formulas, and even all kinds of fighting skills and experiences, as if they had been experienced millions of times. He was already extremely skilled and proficient. Now, I am afraid that the first spear king of Tianqing continent would have to kneel down and shout. Please guide the spear ancestor in front of him. Come on, second uncle will teach you the strongest spear technique now. Li Qingfeng grabbed Li Congxin and started to walk out of the pavilion again. Really, there is no need. Li Congxin was full of rejection in his heart. He had already pulled me up from the chair, and he actually wanted to pull me outside the pavilion. This is too much. The sun is so big outside, he could only smile. Uncle, I actually know a little bit about spearmanship. You also know spearmanship? Li Qingfeng was quite surprised. When did you learn spearmanship? This. Li Congxin could not prove it, he could only pretend. You haven't seen me practice horizontal training, but my body is stronger than my cousin's. Also, you haven't seen anyone practice swords, right? I can kill 100,000-year level monster with one sword now. Li Qingfeng. Ha ha ha. Then, he laughed heartily. Good, good, good. The better you are, the happier your uncle will be. Come on. He even wanted to pull Li Congxin out of the pavilion. Let's have a discussion. Uncle will see how good your spearmanship is. If there are any shortcomings, I can give you some pointers. Chu Fij outside the pavilion suddenly covered his mouth and chuckled. One reason was that Li Congxin refused to take a step. Obviously he is invincible, but he looks like a lazy donkey who refuses to go to the mill. The more you look at him, the more you like him. Second, she couldn't help but think of the last time Li Yi was like this, insisting on giving Li Congxin some advice, but the result was, she quickly tightened her face and forced herself to put away her smile. The man in front of her was not Li Yi, Li Congxin's cousin of the same generation, but Li Qingfeng, a quasi-emperor peak strongman, known as the #1 god of war in this world. Although the young master is unfathomable, he is still very young after all, and he is definitely not on the same level as him. Second uncle, how about this? Tomorrow. Li Congxin really couldn't refuse, so he could only use a delaying tactic. You just came back today, go and rest first, and I will ask you for your advice tomorrow. As long as he gets through it now, tomorrow, he will naturally find a way to satisfy Li Qingfeng's wish. Okay. That's settled. Li Qingfeng immediately decided, tomorrow morning, I'll wait for you at the trial field in the Holy Land. Now I'll go back and lie down and wait for tomorrow morning. This god of war and killing, whose hands have been stained with the lives of millions, obeys the words of his most beloved nephew. Also, I happen to have a holy spearman, and I don't actually need your heaven-shaking spear. Thank you for your kindness, second uncle. Li Congxin raised his arm and threw the spear in his hand to Li Qingfeng again. This soldier has followed Li Qingfeng for half his life and has experienced tens of thousands of battles with him. He is his comrade in arms and brother. Without this soldier, Li Qingfeng's combat power will be discounted. Of course, he can't take away what he loves. Since you have a good weapon, I will take back this spear. Li Qingfeng is also a heroic and open-minded person. After taking the heaven-shaking spear, he laughed and said, Boy, I'll wait for you at the trial field tomorrow morning. After that, he strode away majestically. Ding. Give Li Qingfeng one heaven-shaking spear, trigger 100 times rebate, you get 100 heaven-shaking spears. Listening to the prompt in his mind, Li Congxin sweated. This spear originally belonged to Li Qingfeng, he just took advantage of it, so it counts. So, Li Qingfeng threw the gun to him, it was his, so he threw it back to Li Qingfeng. It was also a gift from him. Li Congxin's face showed a hint of interest. In this way, he only needs to find one person, and fiddle with it back and forth. Wouldn't he be able to brush the holy weapon into a common existence like a wooden sword and scrap iron? It's okay to think about it, but you can't do it. This way, it won't do you any good, but when the time is right, he will slowly build Taiqian Holy Land into a long-lived family, and everyone will have the best spiritual roots and hold holy weapons. At that time, the team led by his father will kill gods and Buddhas. As soon as Li Qingfeng left, Chu Fij and Ren Huchong, who were no longer under pressure, also walked into the pavilion again. Young master, the soup is almost cold. Why don't you stop drinking it? I'll make you a fresh one. Ren Huchong asked while holding a tray. At this time, a coquettish voice came, cousin, you came back first. Yi Susu, who had returned from the secret realm, arrived home. After seeing Li Congxin, she jumped up and down happily. Yeah. Li Congxin responded lazily. This made Chu Fij's expression startled. She looked confused. What do you mean you came back first? Didn't the young master never go out? I thought you were still here. Isusu shook the puppet doll in her hand, excited. I heard that you showed your power in the secret realm, killed a 1,000-meter-high monster with one sword, and cut the vast ocean with one sword. Elder Xianhe was stunned. Chu Fij was even more surprised. Li Congxin was either sleeping or lying on Iran Peak. She had been serving him all the time. She didn't go to the secret realm with Yasusu. What's going on? Looking at Li Congxin, for a moment, her face was full of shock. The main body is on the peak, and the soul is killing outside. He actually has such magical powers. Sweating in my heart, young master, you are really powerful and unpredictable. Cut the sea with one sword. My God, how powerful is he? Suddenly, her eyes lit up again. She glanced at the doll in Yasusu's hand quietly, looking at the doll in her hand that looked exactly like Li Congxin. For some reason, Chu Fij felt a little sad and lonely. It seemed that in the heart of the young master, his little cousin was the most precious treasure and could not be replaced. He quickly shook his head to sober himself up. What was he thinking about? How long had he and the young master known each other? It had been less than 3 days. Why should he compare himself with the childhood sweethearts? What he should do now was to serve the young master well and not think about those unrealistic things. Cousin, it's getting late. I'll go and warm your bed. After chattering around Li Congxin for a while, Isusu ran towards the bathing room with her ponytail jumping. No need today. Li Congxin smiled and said, you are tired too, go and rest. Soaking in the bathtub is like resting. A coquettish voice came from a distance. Li Congxin smiled helplessly. This girl. Putting down the bowl, he stretched. Let's go for a walk too. He felt that he was about to upgrade again. He would break through in a few steps. Oh. Chu Fij, who was daydreaming, hurriedly followed. Okay, young master. Ren Huchong also smiled in a hurry. Young master, then I will go feed the chickens first. Cultivation increased by 21-23. Cultivation increased by 23-33. Cultivation increased by 20-91. 7 days of cultivation. 3 days of cultivation. 5 days of cultivation. The dragon and phoenix eggs in the back mountain provide you with 6,521 cultivation. The dragon and phoenix eggs in the back mountain provide you with 6,666 cultivation. The dragon and phoenix eggs in the back mountain provide you with 6,127 cultivation. With the triple blessing of lying down to upgrade, taking a walk, and training, Li Congxin just walked out of the pavilion, and a brilliant light of breakthrough burst out from his body. Ding! Cultivation advanced, upgraded to the 7th level of the Grandmaster realm. Chu Fij behind him was shocked and speechless and stood on the ground. If this goes on, what will happen? Who? Just as Li Congxin left the pavilion, the broken system on the table was also wiped out by his system, turning into ashes and disappearing. Plop! Another fish fell into the pond. It was just a dead fish. Chapter 36 2 Holy Land Stealing Operation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Taiqian Holy Land was still as usual, and Iran Peak was full of peace, but at this moment, the other 2 Holy Lands were in a commotion because of a piece of news. Zhuelong Holy Land. What did you say? During the trip to the Deep Sea Secret Realm, all the disciples of my Zhuelong Holy Land were wiped out. Even my son was buried in that secret realm. Holy Lord Xiao Wuye was trembling all over, and his hand pressed hard on his heart, which was in great pain. After a violent twitch on his face, poof! A blood arrow several meters away spurted out of his mouth. His son was born with the supreme bone, which was invincible. His hope, which was also the future of the Holy Land, was unexpectedly killed in this way. How could he not feel pain? You said that it was Li Congxin, the young master of Taiqian Holy Land, who killed my son. His eyes were bloodshot. Didn't you say that this boy was a waste? It turns out that it was all fake. Just say, how could Li Tianba's son be a waste? I didn't say that. The elder leading the team to the secret realm waved his hands in panic and shouted, being in the position, doing the job, this is the duty. But some words can only be conveyed, and you must not judge them yourself, otherwise, you will be held responsible. Can he afford to offend Taiqian Holy Land? Holy Lord, I just heard from the disciples of Taiqian Holy Land that their young master is simply explosive, killing people in the secret realm, overthrowing everything, and being invincible. Knowing that this matter is of great importance, he dared not make any false statements, and told the truth about what he heard without adding or missing a word. Xiao Wuye clenched his fists. Isn't this clear enough? Isn't it obvious enough? Li Congxin, you are so good. A few days ago, you pretended to be merciful and let my son go. As a result, your true colors were revealed the next day. In the end, you took my son's supreme bone in the secret realm and killed my son cruelly. You are the future Holy Lord of Taiqian Holy Land. Of course, you will not give other holy lands the opportunity to rise. My son is a peerless figure. In time, he will become a genius and will compete with you for the world. So, in order to prevent future troubles, you strangled my son in the cradle. So cruel, so vicious. Like father, like son. You are worthy of being the son of the great Emperor Heba. After filling his own brain, he was even more indignant. The elder said cautiously, Holy Lord, should we ask Taiqian Holy Land for an explanation for this matter? An explanation? Childish, Xiao Wuye laughed angrily. Young Master Taiqian is so powerful, why should he explain to others who he wants to kill? Why should he give people a reason? Do you know how much his entire family loves him? He became more and more excited. As long as he is happy, he can play with the lives of hundreds of billions of people in the world of Tianqin continent. They are all pitiful toys in his hands. Do you know that the Saint of the Sun Holy Land, the most beautiful girl in Tianqin continent, and the dream lover of hundreds of billions of young people, was forced to change her name to Ren Lishuang for him? After a roar, his expression gradually became deep again. Under the tyranny of Li Tianba and the strength of Taiqian Holy Land, the falling dragon Holy Land can only survive in Tianqin continent in recent years. However, no matter how humble it is afraid that it will eventually be destroyed. Weakness is the original sin. Besides, Xiao Wuye has never been willing to be so humble. Killing his son is also his last bottom line. It seems that the idea of burning the boats in his heart must be put into action. It's just right, the time is right. Boom! With a wave of his sleeves, he turned into a gust of wind and rolled outward. At the same time, the scene in the falling Phoenix Holy Land was almost the same as that in the falling Dragon Holy Land. Holy Lord, this trip to the deep-sea secret realm, except for the disciples of the Taiqian Holy Land, no one else survived. I heard from the disciples of the Taiqian Holy Land that their young master was killing in the secret realm, overthrowing everything and being invincible. Listening to the report of the leading elder, the Holy Lord Yi Tsangqiong trembled all over. His eyes were filled with anger. His son Yi Feng was born with double pupils, which was an invincible posture, but in the end, he fell like this. How could he not be heartbroken? This is too much. This is too much. You just spared my son yesterday, and you killed him again today. Li Congxin, in your eyes, are we a joke that can be made casually? This is too much to humiliate others. Yi Tsangqiong's face twitched and he gritted his teeth. Suddenly, as if he had this idea in mind and finally made up his mind today, his expression became fierce again. Since there is no way to survive, this is the only way. It's just right, the opportunity is mine. With a wave of his sleeves, he turned into a gust of wind and disappeared. Soon after, on a mysterious mountain, the two great masters of the two holy places met here. Brother Xiao, have you decided? Brother Yi, don't hesitate anymore. Under the dark moon and high wind, Xiao Wuye and Yi Tsangqiong, who had already met secretly many times, had gloomy expressions. Okay. Then while Li Tianba is away, the quasi-emperor level masters of Taiqian Holy Land have followed him to the outer domain, and we will go and steal his home. Xiao Wuye decided. He snorted again. Li Tianba is too arrogant. Every time he goes to the outer domain, he will take all the quasi-emperor masters with him. This is also his biggest flaw. Since we are cut off, let him Li Tianba also cut off the rear. After stealing his home and killing Li Congxin, we will flee from Tianqin continent. Yi Tsangqiong has also made up his mind. Instead of living an ignoble existence in Tianqin continent, it is better to move all the powerful people in the Holy Land together and go to other worlds to find new places for development. Good. Xiao Wuye, who had already expected this, said, the Taiqian Holy Land is definitely the largest treasure house in the world. After killing Li Congxin, we will loot the treasures in the Holy Land. At the same time, we will have enough capital to go to other worlds in the outer world. Even if you join other forces, you will still be a guest, instead of living like a prisoner like now. Even if we become interstellar refugees, our situation will be better than our current situation. The universe is so big. When Li Tianba comes back, where can he find us? He waved his sleeves and said, let's take action. Next, the two went home and immediately took action. Rumble. Rumble. Soon, the two holy places buzzed incessantly, the mountains shook and the ground shook violently. Over the falling Dragon Holy Land and the falling Phoenix Holy Land, airships appeared one after another. They were of different sizes. The big ones could carry tens of thousands of people, while the small ones could carry thousands of people. There are hundreds of airships in the two holy places, carrying millions of people, all of whom are cultivators of the martial king, Grand Master, martial emperor, and martial saint realms. Xiao Wuye and Yi Tsangqiong, who led the team, were two quasi-emperors. As for the larger number of disciples in the three realms of solid, pulse extension and soul shaping, they were directly abandoned by them. Their cultivation had not yet broken through the three basic realms, so they were not worthy of being interstellar refugees because it would be a waste of food. The reality is so cruel. Boom. The huge fleet group set off from the two holy places and headed towards the Taiqian Holy Land. Taiqian Holy Land, the proving ground. In the early morning, there were already dense crowds of people here to watch the excitement. One sword can cut the sea. The depth of young master's knowledge is unfathomable. Then you still have to ask. You don't have super strong foundation to release a sword intent 10,000 feet high. We all combined can't even drain our dantian. Now that the young master has the best thunder spirit root, his combat power will be even more explosive. We were worried about him before, but it turns out the clown is ourselves. No wonder he doesn't want Xiao Zhan and Yi Feng's supreme bone eyes, because our young master doesn't like them at all. The story of Li Congxin has been widely known by the disciples who went to the secret realm. Now, everyone knows that not only is he not useless, he has become extremely powerful. This time when the god of war comes back, he will personally teach the young master the marksmanship. The young master will never return on the road to strength. It's not a teaching, it's a pointer. I heard that the young master is also proficient in spear skills, and the god of war wants to compete with him. Compete with the god of war. No matter how outstanding the young master is, he is still a junior. How can he withstand 2 or 3 attacks? Our second holy lord, the god of war of Tianqin continent, is the number 1 person under our holy lord, the overlord of the world. When they learned that Li Qingfeng was going to teach Li Congxin how to shoot, the disciples who came to watch the excitement were all excited. Who doesn't want to witness the demeanor of the number 1 god of war in Tianqin continent? Furthermore, they also wanted to see with their own eyes what level Li Congxin was. At this moment, a bright light came from the Demon Slayer peak, and when it landed on the trial field, it transformed into a tall and mighty man. Is my great-nephew here? Li Qingfeng asked loudly. His words were majestic, and he expressed his ambition to reach the sky. A pair of eyes shoots at the cold stars, holding a sky-shaking spear in his hand, sitting on the throne like a wild animal shaking the earth. With a broad chest and majestic body, he has a majestic appearance that is invincible to anyone. See God of War. The disciples bowed respectfully. He looked left and right again. Where is the young master? Why hasn't the young master arrived yet? Chapter 37, The First God of War 50-50. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Young master, young master. It's time to get up. You and your second uncle have an agreement. On Iran Peak, Li Congxin was lying on the soft jeweling bed. Listening to the gentle whisper, he slowly bowed one foot like a sloth, and then slowly lowered it back down. It fell into stillness for a long time. Chu Fij stood beside the bed, his pretty face speechless. Who dares to think that such a lazy guy could be a super genius with unfathomable background? Anyone who looks at it must be a super trash. No, her young master is not lazy, he is just strong enough, that's why he is so cynical. Young master, are you still going to accept the appointment? If you don't want to go, I'll go and send you a message. He bent down and whispered. Li Congxin turned over and turned his back but towards Chu Fij. Then he stretched out a hand backwards and slapped it directly on Chu Fij's face. It's too early, I really can't get up. I won't go. You can go on my behalf. Chu Fij's eyes flashed. After taking a step back, I saw clearly that there was a beautiful doll in front of me, a doll that looks exactly like Li Congxin. Suddenly, she couldn't help but feel elated. She quickly took the doll and said happily, I obey. She never expected that the young master would give her such a doll. Yasusu takes the doll to the secret realm to seize the treasure, and the young master can appear directly in the secret realm. Obviously, this doll is absolutely extraordinary. Since the young master arranges it this way, it must be feasible. Young master, I'm going then. So, a person headed down Iran Peak. Hey, why is there only one girl here? The young master is not here. As expected of a girl who came down from Iran Peak, she is so beautiful. Her appearance is no less than that of the young master's fiancée who is said to be beautiful. I heard that this girl was snatched by the holy master from another world. She is the daughter of destiny and destiny in this world. She was specially asked to celebrate the young master's birthday. That's true. This girl is the young master's mascot. I said, we can't even find a wife. The young master uses Destiny's daughter as a mascot to celebrate. Idol, the young master has been my idol for 8 lifetimes. Fei Gu has met senior. Chu Fij came over and made a gentle bow towards Li Qingfeng. Not only was he stunning in appearance, but he also had an extraordinary temperament, neither humble nor arrogant. At first glance he is a genius who has seen the world. Chu Fij didn't care about what others said. There are 8 out of 10 people in the world who like to gossip, even the great emperors and quasi-emperors. As long as you know how you are doing at the moment, why do you need to care about what others say? Li Congxin treated her very well, never bullied her. On Iran Peak, she never felt the humiliation of being a kidnapped plaything. On the contrary, a lot of good benefits have been obtained. Where is my nephew? Li Qingfeng asked. Chu Fij took out the puppet, and she was a little panicked at this time. Young master said. Second uncle, I've been waiting for a long time. Li Congxin stepped out from the puppet doll, fresh, handsome and graceful. Chu Fij felt relieved. Look carefully at Li Congxin in front of you. She was certain that this was definitely not a soul, but a real person with flesh and blood. For a moment, she was also confused. Could it be that this doll is a portal? But yesterday she was clearly by the young master's side. When did the young master go to participate in the treasure hunt in the secret realm? It's so inscrutable that I can't see through it. I can't see through it at all. You kid, you really don't want to take an idle step, and you even made a portal that the maid carries with her. Li Qingfeng thought so too. At this time, Li Congxin was actually still lying on the bed. This was just his clone. Under the control of his thoughts, the clone is just like the real body, and there is no way to notice anything strange. Let us start. Since he wanted to learn from each other, he didn't hesitate. If there are any shortcomings, please give me some advice. Stretch your arm and boom. Like a thunderous sound, like a bolt of lightning turning into a dragon descending from the sky, a spear wrapped in electric light appeared in his hand. The spear was 3 meters long, and the gun body was like a cyan thunderbolt. The butt of the gun was stuck on the ground. The entire training ground, which is as big as a football field, is filled with electric waves and thunder patterns. The holy thunder weapon, thunder questioning spear. What a powerful military force. Li Qingfeng's expression perked up. He said loudly, other disciples, leave. Hearing this, the disciples were like giant cranes that spread their wings and flew back in all directions, retreating to the surrounding area outside the trial venue. Here we go. I hope the young master can withstand the 3 moves of the god of war. There are not many people in the world who can withstand the 3 moves of the god of war. Yes, even if the Holy Lord and the god of war are fighting against each other, they wouldn't dare to be careless at all, right? If they can withstand the 3 moves of the god of war, then they can be called the new generation of little god of war. But the young master can cut the sea with 1 sword. Yes, the young master now has the best thunder spirit root and such a powerful thunder spearman. He will definitely perform amazingly. At the same time, everyone became excited. In the trial field, the uncle and nephew stood facing each other 100 meters apart. An aura that made outsiders nervous began to soar. Chu Fij clasped her fingers tightly. She had never seen Li Congxin fight with anyone before, and she didn't know what the actual combat level of this young master who didn't like to move much was. Boy, watch it. Li Qingfeng's tall body shook, and his aura burst out, releasing his might. The silver bottle suddenly broke and water splashed out. The iron cavalry rushed out with sharp gunshots, and shouted, "Explode!" The heaven-shaking spear in his hand was domineeringly struck out, and the spear appeared. In the space, a string of air flowers exploded by the spear. Light suddenly appeared, spreading rapidly forward, rolling towards Li Congxin. It was like his echo. Explode, 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 explode. The killing power rolled, and the destructive intention roared. At this moment, the whole trial field was reverberating with explosions. The disciples who retreated to the periphery were also shocked. The power of the god of war is extraordinary. Li Congxin no longer spoke, and there was no expression on his face. Similarly, a strong aura burst out, and the long spear in his hand struck out. The spear came out like a dragon, and a strangled thunder continued to shatter layers of void. The 2 spears collided with each other. Boom! There was a loud bang in the center of the trial field, and thunder waves and killing power surged in all directions like a tide. The disciples of Taiqian Holy Land, who had retreated to the periphery, were still horrified. If it weren't for the formation protection, this killing force would be like a tidal wave, tearing down houses and houses, and could instantly break everything in the 8 directions. After the attack, the 2 men's clothes fluttered, and they still stood facing each other with guns in hand, equally matched. Good boy, you really hid deep enough. Li Qingfeng couldn't help but be overjoyed, because he had verified with facts that Li Congxin was not a waste, and was quite extraordinary. I'm going to use force. His expression was even more excited. Just now, because he was afraid of hurting Li Congxin, he only released the power of the martial emperor realm. Seeing that Li Congxin could withstand it, he did not hesitate and directly increased it to the martial saint realm. The majestic body of the god of war straightened up. Suddenly, a mirror image rose from his body, turning into a giant body of 100 feet, holding the heaven-shaking spear in his hand, standing in the void with domineering and awe-inspiring majesty. He looked down at Li Congxin on the ground. At this moment, the temperament of the god of war was more evident, and Li Qingfeng laughed. Even if the sky is stained with blood, even if the gods block the way, I will smile and scold. Boy, are you ready? The heaven-shaking spear in his hand burst into thousands of stars. Everyone couldn't help but cover their eyes with their hands. This momentum, this heroic spirit, if he is not the god of war, who dares to call it? At this moment, everyone was shocked. The mirror image giant body is a magical power that only the strong in the saint realm can possess. The young master is only 17 years old, I'm afraid. Boom! The space was surging, and the world was buzzing, not much less, like a roar in anger, stepping on the clouds, as high as the sky. At this moment, a phantom rushed out of the silent Li Congxin's body, turning into a mirror image of 100 feet, standing in the void. With a shake of his arm, the thunder spear in the mirror image's hand became huge, and lightning flashed across the sky. Boom! Boom, crack, crack. The 2 mirror images of 100 feet raised their spears and confronted each other in midair. The sound was like the explosion of heaven and earth. The force wave impacted the world in all directions. On the earth, everyone was shocked. Fuck, is the young master so powerful? They all screamed in surprise. Not far away, on a mountain peak, the crane who had been paying attention also showed a look of surprise on her delicate face. She covered her chest with her hands and whispered, "I thought the disciples were bragging when they said that the young master killed a monster thousands of meters high with one sword. Now, I really believe it." Chu Fij raised her head, with a look of shock on her beautiful face. Today she finally knew that the young master, at least, had the cultivation of a martial saint. 17-year-old martial saint. Oh my God, I've never heard of this, but she immediately dismissed the idea that had just come up. In the trial field, the real bodies of the two people standing in confrontation never moved. This attack was still evenly matched. Ha 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 ha. With a hearty laugh, Li Qingfeng's mirror image giant body held a spear in his hand and soared into the sky like a dazzling star. The mirror image body of 100 feet was like a gorgeous star in the extremely high sky, as if it was about to connect with the sky. Boy, I'm going to do it for real. At a height of 100,000 feet, Li Qingfeng shouted, "Shake the sky." Chapter 38. Didn't you say that the timing is right in my Taiqian Holy Land? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom. With one shot, the might of the god of war completely erupted, and the 80,000 great powers of heaven and earth gathered crazily, condensing into a scene of world destruction. The huge killing might was like a whole sky shaking down. Looking up, everyone in Taiqian Holy Land took a breath of cold air in their hearts. Even the several elders of the martial saint realm who stayed in the Holy Land were shocked. God of war, do you want your family to be extinct? This vision was like the sky falling. A large piece of the sky collapsed, and it was smashed towards Li Congxin in the trial field. This shot has the power of world destruction, which can bury millions of living beings. With this shot, Li Qingfeng has released the power of the quasi-emperor level. The reason is very simple. He knew it in his heart and found that the power of the martial saint level could not suppress Li Congxin at all. He wanted to see how deep Li Congxin's foundation was. Young master, be careful. Chu Fij couldn't help but exclaimed. At this moment Li Congxin, who said nothing, took back his soul mirror image, stood on the ground, raised one arm high, and pierced the sky with his thunder spear. The sun and the moon shone brightly. The thunder-questioning heaven's spear seemed to question the sky, and millions of thunders burst out from the spear, like a giant thunder flower blooming in the sky above him. Countless thunders like long snakes strangled out, ferocious, violent, and murderous, smashing the sky that was shaken down. The scene of world destruction disappeared. Only the whole world was left, with waves of force and endless buzzing sounds. Everyone couldn't help but open their mouths, moaning in their hearts, "Oh my God!" That the expression can no longer be described as incredible, but stunned. Li Qingfeng released a quasi-emperor level killing move, but it was still resolved by Li Congxin in one move. The two of them were still evenly matched. Before, I was worried whether Li Congxin could withstand Li Qingfeng's 3 attacks. Now, it seems that after 3 attacks, Li Qingfeng didn't seem to have gained any advantage. No way. Chu Fij murmured in a low voice, "My young master is a quasi-emperor." Bang. At this time, Li Congxin had already cracked the bluestone ground with one foot. Holding the thunder spear in his hand, he soared into the sky like a burst of lightning and blasted towards Li Qingfeng in the sky. Boom. Boom. In the sky, Li Congxin used advanced spear techniques that were both exquisite and powerful, and continued to attack Li Qingfeng violently. The long spear was like lightning into the clouds and thunder, rising to the sky, and opening thousands of miles. The long spear stretched out like a dragon, a tiger roared, and the air was surging. The long spear was held upright to cut thousands of enemies, and the battlefield was like fire, burning endlessly. Facing Li Congxin's bombardment, Li Qingfeng continued to resist the strong bombardment, and his heart was also surging. Where do all those powerful spear techniques come from? Do you need me to teach you? Or, can you teach me? Brat, where does your quasi-emperor level strength come from? Have you really never seen him practice, or grow up? Is it just imagination? Come and fight. At the same time, he was overjoyed. Ahaha, his nephew is actually a quasi-emperor. For a moment, he didn't hold back at all, and directly released his strongest aura. The two fought fiercely in the sky, and soon, 10 moves. 100 moves. 1,000 moves. The sky and the earth roared, and thunders continued. The sky above Taiqian Holy Land was dark, like a great battle between gods and demons, and it was extremely fierce. From beginning to end, it was hard to tell who was better. Ha ha ha. The more they fought, the more excited they became. Li Qingfeng, who hadn't fought so hard in many years, laughed out loud. Good nephew, today, accompany your second uncle to fight for 1,000,000 rounds. Li Congxin, who had never said a word, accompanied him to the end. His dot on the ground, everyone was shocked. The disciples of Taiqian Holy Land, who were amazed, began to turn their shock on their faces into admiration and immense respect. The young master fought against the second saint and challenged the first god of war in Tianqin continent. The combat power of the two people can still be described in 4 words, evenly matched. Fuck. The young master, who had always been inconspicuous and even considered a waste, turned out to be so powerful after 17 years of silent efforts. The young master was so amazing at the age of 17. With his unremitting efforts in secret, I am afraid it won't take long for him to surpass Li Qingfeng, then Li Yuanba, and then become the youngest and strongest person in Tianqin continent. Everyone was excited again. Ahaha, the Holy Lord is in his prime, and the young master has risen to prominence. Their Taiqian Holy Land will always be prosperous and undefeated. In fact, Li Congxin let it go. At this moment, Li Congxin sat on the bed and picked his feet leisurely. As soon as the battle started, he handed over the control of the clone to the system, and reminded, you come to fight, but remember, give my second uncle face, don't beat him. The entire Taiqian Holy Land is Li Congxin's absolute domain. In his absolute domain, he can't lose at all. Even his father came, he could hang him. Even his mother. If he can't lose, then let it go to the maximum extent, which means not winning. Equal. He didn't want to defeat Li Qingfeng, and didn't want to embarrass him. The face of his second uncle, the first god of war in Tianqin continent, is still very important. At this time, boom. Boom. The airships from the fallen Dragon Holy Land and the fallen Phoenix Holy Land had already joined together on the way. Hundreds of airships, carrying millions of people, were heading towards the Taiqian Holy Land. The sky was dark, with such a huge momentum, such a large team, and a world-shaking war coming up. They should be very excited. However, the reality is, my heart is beating harder than when I was going through the heavenly tribulation. I have a bad feeling. Yes, my left eyelid is twitching too. If we attack with such a big fanfare, will we be wiped out? Over the years, the Taiqian Holy Land has shown special favor and did not destroy our 2 holy lands of Zhuilong Luofeng. We actually turned around and attacked them. Ahem, isn't this a bit like turning over the offerings on the table of the King of Hell? I just want to die. Yes, isn't this a sheep trespassing on a wolf's den and giving away food for free? That's the Taiqian Holy Land. We used to go there to worship. But it is the most sacred, powerful and inviolable place in the Tianqin continent. The disciples of the 2 holy lands, including the elders, looked very uneasy and panicked at the moment. Some people even suddenly lost their footing and fell off the airship, and did not save themselves, allowing themselves to fall into the mountains on the ground. Whoosh.or, some people simply flew away without saying a word. They would rather be deserters despised by others, and would rather be a masterless cultivator in the future, than dare to take risks in Taiqian Holy Land. Xiao Wuye and Yi Zhangqiong looked ugly. Li Tianba has taken all the masters to fight in the foreign land. There are only a few martial saint elders left in Taiqian Holy Land to guard the house. Don't worry. Yes, the opportunity is mine. Don't panic. Don't panic. Don't panic. A kind of fear has penetrated into the bones. Shouting did not have much effect. Seeing that some people still chose to escape from the battlefield, Yi Zhangqiong and Xiao Wuye's mouths twitched. No. Now I'm starting to panic. The closer we get to the Holy Land of Taiqian, the more panicked I'll be. I'm really worried that by the time we get there will be only a few people left. The 2 looked at each other and smiled bitterly. If that were the case, it would be very embarrassing. It would be like sending soldiers to fight, and the soldiers would run away as soon as they entered the battlefield. Yi Zhangxiong's face was stern. We can't give the disciples a chance to escape. We are still 1,000 miles away from the Holy Land of Taiqian. With our strength, we can just tear open the barrier of time and space and teleport 1,000 miles with a large army. Okay. Boom. The two men's hair and beard stood up, and they released their imperial power at the same time. Crack, crack, the aura turned into two huge phantom bodies standing between heaven and earth, like two door gods, stretching out their huge arms, constantly tearing the space in front of them to the left and right. Boom. Boom. One airship after another drove into the cracked time and space and disappeared. Seeing this, Yi Zhangxiong and Xiao Wuye breathed a sigh of relief. The battle was about to begin, and the two of them were in high spirits again. Let's go, kill Li Congxin and avenge our son. Remember, Li Tianba's niece, that is, Li Congxin's cousin, a woman named Yasusu, must be captured alive. This woman is born with a spiritual spring body, which is equivalent to an inexhaustible spiritual spring. In the future, she can be used as a furnace for the two of us to practice endlessly in turns. Very good. After a few brief exchanges, the two of them also drilled into the space-time rift. Buzz. The next moment, one airship after another appeared in the sky above the Taiqian Holy Land. Fuck. Hissed the people of the Falling Dragon Holy Land and the Falling Phoenix Holy Land who had just arrived here. Before they had time to observe the situation, their faces changed drastically, and without warning, the hair on their bodies stood up instantly. Appearing here, what immediately appeared in their eyes were two peerless masters who were like gods and demons, with holy spears rolling and shuttling in their hands, fighting fiercely in the air. In this world, the wind was howling. Lightning and thunder were flashing, and the murderous atmosphere was pervasive. After a closer look, the cultivators of the two holy places were almost scared to death. Li Qingfeng. That's the god of war Li Qingfeng. Who among the cultivators of the major holy places didn't know Li Qingfeng? There were originally 12 holy places in Tianqin continent. Once, one of them, Yui Holy Land, was a force far more powerful than Zhuilong and Luofeng Holy Land. As a result, it was razed to the ground overnight by Li Qingfeng's gun. Millions of people in the Holy Land were killed. It was not in vain that I was panicking just now. They really came to die. The Holy Lord is harming me. In his collapse, an elder of the Falling Dragon Holy Land shouted at Yi Zhangxiong in despair, "Didn't you say that the opportunity is on my side and there is no quasi-emperor in the Taiqian Holy Land? Why are you cheating me?" An elder of the Falling Phoenix Holy Land shouted at Xiao Wuye, "Didn't you say you were here to steal our house? You are clearly waving from the grave, leading us to our death." Chapter 39. Single-handedly suppressing the two quasi-emperors, the young master is invincible. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Zhangxiong and Xiao Wuye had extremely ugly expressions at this time. At the same time, they were also panicking. Every time Li Tianba went to the outer domain, he would take away all the quasi-emperors. Didn't the god of war Li Qingfeng go with Li Tianba this time? This is really a big surprise, shocking. To destroy the two holy places, one Li Qingfeng is enough. Yi Zhangxiong and Xiao Wuye joined forces, and they could only hold on for a moment at most, and then Li Qingfeng stepped on one of them and pressed them to the ground to rub and rub. However, the people from the two holy places were shocked again. That young man was actually fighting Li Qingfeng on equal terms. That was Li Congxin, the young master of Taiqian. Even more surprised than seeing the god of war Li Qingfeng, everyone's face was full of shock. Is Li Congxin so powerful? He can fight Li Qingfeng endlessly, which means that he is at least a quasi-emperor. No wonder Xiao Zhan and Yifeng died so easily. It's really not unfair to die. Two little martial kings and a quasi-emperor are robbing treasures in the same secret realm. If they don't die, who will die? If they can come back alive, they will see a living ghost. Everyone always thinks that Li Congxin killed Xiao Zhan and Yifeng. It's over. It's over now. Yi Zhangxiong and Xiao Wuye were also desperate. Not to mention Li Qingfeng, the two of them probably can't even beat Li Congxin. This revenge can't be avenged. Trembling, the people from the two holy places showed a wretched expression again, thinking in their hearts, why don't you two continue to fight? Just pretend you didn't see us. Can we still turn around and go back? Boom. With a blast mixed with thunder and light, Li Congxin and Li Qingfeng had already drifted back at the same time, stopping their wars and putting away their guns. And they looked at the people from the Falling Dragon Holy Land and the Falling Phoenix Holy Land together. Li Congxin, who had been silent, also spoke up, "Everyone, what are you doing? Are you here to attack my Taiqian Holy Land?" At this time, he was lying on the bed on Iran Peak and had regained control of his clone. He was the young master of Taiqian Holy Land. If an enemy came, and his father was not here, he had to stand up to receive them. At this point, Yi Zhangqiong and Xiao Wuye could only bite the bullet and reply. If it were normal days, we would never dare to offend. It's only because the Holy Sun killed my two sons that we were impulsive and mobilized a large army. Before the fight started, the confidence was gone. Heh. Sneered. Hearing this, the disciples of Taiqian Holy Land who had been to the secret realm all sneered, but they did not stand up to argue. They had a rule in Taiqian Holy Land, set by the great tyrant Emperor Li Tianba, no explanation. Taiqian Holy Land never cared about taking the blame, because they did cause too much killing to dominate the Tianqin continent. Li Tianba is called God of Slaughter, Li Qingfeng is called God of Killing, and there are all the quasi-emperors. Which one of them is not stained with the blood of millions of lives? So, no matter what crime the outside world accuses them of, or what fraud they frame, they will accept it. It doesn't matter, it's numb, no explanation. Also, when you become powerful to a certain extent, who the hell cares what you ants are thinking? Or how much you hate us? As the young master of Taiqian, Li Congxin naturally can't break this rule. He doesn't care about being misunderstood at all. A strong man has a lifetime, why should he explain anything to others? But there is another rule in Taiqian Holy Land, those who offend me must be punished. He said lightly, if you are impulsive, you will pay the price of impulsiveness. His eyes burst into a fierce murderous light. Hey! Li Qingfeng's heart was lifted. After all, uncles and nephews are still leisurely when they compete with each other, and they will not kill each other because they are afraid of hurting each other. But it's different when dealing with outsiders. Now, he could finally judge what kind of background Li Congxin had. In that case, Xiao Wuye and Yi Zhangqiong's expressions were stern. Let's fight. That he could only muster up his courage and release his powerful imperial power at the same time. Imperial power, which only the strong above the quasi-emperor level have, is a kind of deterrent force that can suppress all living beings in the world. Once the imperial power is released, it can instantly smash the army, destroy the mountains and rivers, and burn everything. Fight. Li Congxin still said indifferently, I'm afraid you two are not worthy. Standing in the void, he stretched out a hand from a distance and pressed down slightly. Bang! Bang! Xiao Wuye and Yi Zhangqiong's imperial bodies shook, and they fell directly from the air without any resistance. With two loud noises, they knelt heavily on the trial field. When the knees fell, cracks exploded on the bluestone ground in all directions, like two huge spider webs. Ah! Ah! As they struggled, the imperial power released from the two was like a surging mountain torrent, but under Li Congxin's palm of the void, it was forced back. Puff! Puff! The two knelt on the ground with their hands, and blood spurted all over the ground. In their hearts, there were raging waves. What kind of strength does this boy have? Under the suppression, his bones were broken and his muscles collapsed. He hurriedly shouted, Stop, stop, stop. Saint Son, spare my life, spare my life. The two were scared to death. They were originally afraid of Li Qingfeng, but in the end, this kid seemed to be more terrible than Li Qingfeng. This crime will not be forgiven. Li Congxin said lightly, the rules of Taiqian Holy Land cannot be broken. Palm, press down, bang. As soon as the world collapsed, a huge palm print with a width of 100 meters was dented on the trial ground. Xiao Wuye and Yi Zhangqiong, who were originally kneeling, lay down in the huge palm pit like old dogs with broken backs. Unable to move, he was dying on the spot. This scene, whether it was the people from Falling Dragon Holy Land, Luo Feng Holy Land or Taiqian Holy Land, were all shocked and speechless. Their young master crushed the quasi-emperor. 2. This is too invincible. Chu Fiji's beautiful eyes were filled with shock. At this moment, her heart stopped beating as if she had forgotten to breathe. She originally thought that her young master was in the Holy Realm, but he turned out to be undefeated as a quasi-emperor. She originally thought that the young master of her family was also a quasi-emperor, but it turned out that he had the power to suppress the quasi-emperor at will. Could it be that the young master of her family is? This is impossible. That even Li Qinfeng looked in disbelief. If he wanted to kill 2 quasi-emperors, he had to go out in person, raise his arms and wave his guns. Li Congxin, on the other hand, stretched out a hand in the air and suppressed it easily. This kid, oh, fuck, is he a great emperor? Could it be that when he fought with me just now, he was fighting based on his own weight? If he made a few moves, he would use a few pounds to catch them. Boom! Li Congxin pressed his palm down slightly, and the palm-shaped pit in the trial field instantly expanded and deepened, turning into a terrifying palm-shaped abyss. Poof! Poof! The 2 quasi-emperor bodies lying in the abyss were like rotten tomatoes hit by steel plates. Their bodies turned into 2 puddles of fleshy foam. Yi Zhangqiong and Xiao Wuye, who were left with only broken souls, were in panic and screamed in fear. Show mercy! Not far away, 2 old voices sounded. Holy Son, I beg you to show mercy. Wow! Wow! The energy on Iran Peak fluctuated, and on the back mountain, 2 old and weak phantoms of the soul emerged, rising into the void. They have no entity, are very weak, and seem to be scattered at any time, but it can still be judged that they are all powerful quasi-emperors. Li Congxin narrowed his eyes. Who are you 2? That when did the remnant souls of 2 quasi-emperors live on his Iran Peak? Looking at the 2 phantoms, the cultivators at Falling Dragon Holy Land and Falling Phoenix Holy Land were indeed excited. Ancestor! That's our ancestor. Why did our ancestor from the Holy Land, who had disappeared for 17 years, appear in the Taiqian Holy Land? That these 2 people are the ancestors of Falling Dragon Holy Land and Falling Phoenix Holy Land. Surprised, the people of the 2 holy places became excited again. At the critical moment, the 2 ancestors who had disappeared for 17 years actually appeared. This may be a turning point. In the void, the 2 phantoms saluted respectfully towards Li Congxin. Holy Son, we are your eggs. Everyone in Falling Dragon Holy Land. Everyone in Luofeng Holy Land. Immediately, looking at the remaining soul of Xiao Wuye Yi Zhangqiong in the palm pit, the 2 elders beat their chests and stamped their feet. Confused, you are really confused. Then he looked at the cultivators at the 2 holy places, and even more bitterly shouted, Fools, you fools, do you really think that the Taiqian Holy Land is so easy to attack by surprise? Idiot, just like me 17 years ago, we are both big fools who don't know the heights of the world. Do you know? Even if the great Emperor Heba and other powerful men are not here, even if the god of war is not here, even if the young master is not around, there are still 5 ancient ancestors of the Li family in this holy land. Any one of them has a ray of divine power. Even the spirit can destroy the entire Tianqin continent. In addition, there is the young master's mother, the snow goddess. That without further ado, the 2 of them kept looking up to the sky and crying, a bunch of fools, who asked you to come here to seek death. Everyone in Falling Dragon Holy Land. Everyone in Luofeng Holy Land. Trembling, millions of people were trembling. The newly raised hope was shattered like a moth after being shot. Chapter 40. This kid will be awesome in the future. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Be merciful, the Holy Son will be merciful. Although they broke the rules, I beg you to spare them once. Yes, you are so bold. They both deserve to die, but for the sake of our eggs, please be lenient. Please have mercy on me, Holy Son. After first scolding their descendants, the 2 ancestors, whose souls were floating in the void, continued to bow to Li Congxin and beg. Second uncle. Uncle. Xiao Wuye and Yi Zhangqiong, whose lives were hanging by a thread in the palm pit, screamed feebly, the mentality has collapsed, the Taoist heart has collapsed. At this moment, both of them were also filled with questions. Those two old souls are actually the uncles of the two holy masters of the falling dragon and falling phoenix. They are so senior. But they also said that they are our young master's eggs. Similarly, the disciples of Taiqian Holy Land also had confused faces, including Li Qingfeng, who were all scratching their heads, looking like Monk Zhang was confused. When did the ancestors of the two holy places become the eggs of their young master? What egg? What kind of egg? It can't be those two eggs, right? Let me go. Our young master's two balls are actually transformed by the ancestors of the two holy places. This is amazing. The power is endless. Although it was very confusing, everyone was very happy. A bunch of little destroyers. Even your ancestors are just the eggs of our young master. How dare you come to attack my Taiqian Holy Land? Li Congxin showed interest. There is a dragon and phoenix egg in the mountain behind Iran Peak. He has known about it for a long time, but he did not expect that the egg turned out to be the ancestor of Falling Dragon Holy Land and Falling Phoenix Holy Land. There must be something fishy in it. No wonder Taiqian Holy Land destroyed all the Holy Lands, but it was particularly kind to Falling Dragon Holy Land and Falling Phoenix Holy Land, promising that as long as the two Holy Lands did not take the initiative to die, they would have a place to live in Tianqin continent. Attack them without destroying them. This is also the reason why the two holy places can survive until now. Presumably, it's because of that egg. However, now they are the ones taking the initiative to commit suicide. No matter what agreement you two have with my elders. Li Congxin did not show any compassion, and still said calmly, anyone who offends our holy land will be punished. This rule cannot be broken. With your palm, press down gently. Don't want, the two ancestors cried out in despair. Amid the horrifying cries, Yi Zhangqiong and Xiao Wulia's souls were crushed to pieces, turning into countless broken light points that continued to dim and dissipate, and were annihilated by flying ashes. Why? You can't live if you do something wrong to yourself. You can't live. The two ancestors sighed helplessly. His face looked sad. After surviving until now, he is extremely weak. If he insists on not showing up, he may be able to hold on for another year. In order to save Xiao Wulia and Yi Zhangqiong, he appeared as a last resort. In the end, they still couldn't be saved. Died? The holy master of our holy land, two powerful quasi-emperors, died like this. This scene made the people in the two holy places tremble with fear and feel horrified in their hearts. The ancestor begged for mercy in a low voice, but it was still in vain. Immediately, Li Congxin looked at the large black airship floating in the sky. The people on the airship couldn't help but tremble all over, without hesitation. Holy Sun, spare your life. We never thought about attacking Taiqian Holy Land. We were deceived by Xiao Wulia and Yi Zhangqiong. Yes, we wanted to run away halfway, but Xiao Wulia and Yi Zhangqiong directly broke the time and space barrier and pulled us over. Spare your life, Holy Sun, we really didn't want to offend Taiqian Holy Land, they all yelled, and each of them was so frightened that their faces turned blue. That being the case, Li Congxin made a considerate expression, after a while, said, well, then I will give you 3 times to escape. After 3 times, whether you are dead or alive depends on your destiny. Since they were helpless, and because the egg transformed by their ancestor had trained him a lot, Li Congxin decided to give them half a chance, but I can't give it all, because the rules of Taiqian Holy Land cannot be broken. The majesty is untouchable. Boom. As soon as I finished speaking, I saw densely packed figures suddenly rushing up on the huge group of airships. Whoosh whoosh. Boo hoo hoo hoo. Facing the opposite direction of Taiqian Holy Land, some wielded swords, some wielded weapons, some swapped out flying beast mounts, and some simply swung their arms and ran through the air. Millions of people were like frightened birds. At this time, everyone wished they could have 3 legs. I just wish I could have a flamethrower stuck in my butt to help. Millions of people fled for their lives. Li Congxin, I haven't even started counting yet. Ha ha ha. Looking at the cultivators who were scared to death, Li Qingfeng laughed enthusiastically. My eldest nephew is majestic. Now that young Master Taiqian has spoken, the elders in the Holy Land who are responsible for controlling various terrifying formations such as attack, defense, destruction, and illusion, have not opened the formation seals or blocked them. Ha ha ha. The disciples of Taiqian Holy Land all laughed together. Young Master is mighty. Young Master is domineering, and they began to shout in unison. 3, 2, 1. The sound was loud. Just when everyone shouted, 1, Li Congxin released a powerful aura and stood between heaven and earth, his eyes flashing with light, like a god about to be exterminated. His arms shook. Buzz. 8 spears appeared in the void in front of him, the flowing clouds breaking light spear, the sky-inducing greenwood spear, the blood sea wave spear, the sky-burning red cloud spear, the thick earth-rock ground spear, the black ice-sealing sky spear, the strong wind spear, and the thunder-asking sky spear. 8 holy spears releasing different spiritual powers were lined up in front of him like 8 rocket launchers, with a wave of Li Congxin's sleeves. Boom. 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 The 8 spears turned into 8 different colors of Sha Hong that broke through the sky, crushed the void, cleansed the sky screen, and killed the long sky. Looking up at the traces of fire, thunder, ice, and wind that cut through the sky, the disciples of Taiqian Holy Land looked horrified. I thought that their young master had only activated the thunder spirit system, but he didn't expect that he could control 8 kinds of spiritual power at the same time. 8 types are all spiritual attributes. I have never heard of such a great talent. This kid will. Li Qingfeng also whispered, it's crazy, that he didn't know how to describe it, so he could only say the words shaking the sky. These 3 words did not exist in this world. He was so shocked that he blurted them out. Boom boom boom. Under the impact of the 8 killing lights, the densely packed airships in the sky continued to explode and were penetrated, exploding into huge sparks. A large number of airships covered the sky and the earth. Many of them were as big as aircraft carriers, but in an instant, they all exploded. The whole world was illuminated red by the fire. The picture is extremely spectacular. On the ground, Chu Fij looked shocked, his handsome face as brightly colored as if in the flames of war. Li Congxin fell back to the ground without taking another look and walked towards Chu Fij. Let's go back. It seemed like he had walked into her body, but in fact, his clone had returned to the puppet doll. This was the greatest mercy he could show. As for how many people ran away and how many didn't run away, it had nothing to do with him. It stands to reason that any outsider who steps into Taiqian Holy Land without permission will die. Thank you, Master, for showing mercy beyond the law. The ancestors of the 2 holy lands of Falling Dragon and Falling Phoenix bowed deeply in the air with gratitude on their faces. Besides, young Master, that egg is ready to be eaten. After saying the last words, his 2 remaining souls also drifted away in the wind. He fell like this, his body died and his path disappeared. On Iran Peak, Li Congxin was getting ready to get up, because his curiosity was aroused. He wanted to go to the back mountain to see the egg. Susu, Susu. That I called twice, but no one answered. There was no such big movement and Yasusu was seen going to watch the fun. That girl must be hiding somewhere in retreat and sealing herself up with a soundproof array. At this time, she should be working on the heavenly grade thunder spirit root she got from the deep sea secret realm. The rags are turned into treasures. Li Congxin shook his head helplessly and started to get up and put on his clothes and socks. What are your orders, young master? Ren Hu Chong, wearing an apron, hurried over and said, I'll serve the young master. The expression on his face was trembling, and he had obviously witnessed the whole process of the battle between Li Congxin and Li Qingfeng and the suppression of the 2 holy places on Iran Peak. Very frightened, however, he was also very strange at the moment. What? How did my invincible brother-in-law get out of bed? He expressed confusion. Go on your way. Li Congxin dressed herself, stretched her waist, and then walked out of the house. Ding. System walking starts automatically. The current total number of steps, 3212. You gain cultivation for 3 days. You get a magical banana. You gain cultivation for 7 days. As soon as he walked out of the house, he met Chu Fij who had returned from the mountain. Come on, accompany me to the back mountain for a walk. Li Congxin said while peeling a banana. Chu Fiji's expression was stunned, and he glanced at the doll in his hand, and then took a deep breath. The young master has great powers. If he wants to appear wherever he wants, can she be able to find it? He quickly followed him. Now, in her eyes, Li Congxin is completely like a god. Li Congxin stretched out the banana in front of Chu Fiji. You eat it. After peeling it off, I remembered that he never liked eating this stuff. The young master actually peeled a banana for himself. Chu Fiji was shocked on the spot. Immediately, he hurriedly took it and was flattered. Thank you, young master. Looking at Li Congxin, who had walked forward leisurely, a faint color of happiness appeared on Jun's face again. He opened his small mouth and took a bite happily. Boom. As a huge amount of spiritual energy poured in, the aura that arose on her body caused her clothes to swell and her hair to fly. The realm has been broken through. She was at the peak of the martial king realm and became the grandmaster realm after eating a banana. For a moment, he was even more excited. Thank you, young master, for the reward.